All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our back to school press conference. This is the one in the past, we've done a press conference daily about different topics, and we thought today let's just bring it all together. And really it's designed to communicate to the public some things that are pertinent for the first day. We'll also be having a back to school press conference on the first day, which we are going to be hosting at Old Town, which is celebrating 100 years. And so we're excited today to be here, and we are doing our press conference at Parkland High School because it is one of, for a couple reasons, but it is one of 4 high schools this morning that are hosting our back to school professional development for our teachers. We've got all of our teachers either in the morning or the afternoon attending a district-wide professional development day today. And so Parkland is one of our host sites, and also because we are celebrating our co-principals today who for the first time we're using an innovative approach to leadership at Parkland. And we've got 2 principals with us back here. We've got Jonathan Siddon and Walter Johnson, who will be here. If you have any questions about that model at the end of this, feel free to ask about that. We're expecting great things at Parkland High School this year. Joining me today also, I've got my board chair and vice chair. I'm Deanna Kaplan, board chair. We have vice chair Alex Bohannon. I have 2 other board members with us today, Susan Miller and Travonia Brown-Gaither. And I've also got members of the team who are representing different topics today. We've got our chief of schools, Dr. Tamisha Barnes-Jones, our deputy superintendent, Dr. Fabi Williams, and we've got our chief operations, Lauren Richards, and we've got our senior executive director of transportation, Tisha. Oh my gosh, Tisha Davis. All of a sudden I'm like getting all confused. And Jonathan. Save the best for last, right? Is that what I did here? And Jonathan Wilson, who is our Chief of Safety, Security, and Emergency Management. So we are going to jump right in today. Today is really, again, about what do we need to share that might be new for parents as they come back on Monday. This is all about having our students ready for day one. And so we are very excited to have them back. As you all know, we're starting Monday, August 12th. And so we are really excited about getting our kids back into our schools. And so, we've got, I think it's 6 days from today, or 5? 6 or 5? We're counting because we cannot wait. It is a celebratory day. I was this morning at a different event and said this is the most wonderful time of the year, next to Christmas probably, or next to the holidays, because we're really excited. And we've been working hard this summer to prepare. Because it was a little bit of a tightened window, we had some great metrics we've been tracking for building readiness and for preparedness. And so we're really excited about Monday. So I'm going to start with safety and security, and I'm going to be brief on these different topics and then again open up for questions. So with safety and security, you're going to see a lot of continuation of some of the great work we've been doing. Last year we spent a lot of time getting our facilities where there was limited access into the building, where we had to have, and I'm going to use the wrong language here, but like keypad entry into different parts of the building, whereas before those doors kids were coming and going, and now they have to enter their keypads. We have major camera access that was enhanced last year. And really one of the greatest things we did last year was get to a common standard response protocol, or that is honestly, we use it, the Sheriff's Department uses it, the city police use it, and we're trying to get all entities in our community to use it because we learned it from I Love You Guys, but it is a response protocol that truly does share what is happening when it comes time for an emergency type of situation. It's really brought us all together on the same page and allowed us to communicate more effectively with parents about what is happening when an emergency happens. And so we're going to continue all that great work. Something last year that became highlighted was the use of metal detectors. And so last year we were using a random process. Toward the end of the year, we did it more frequently. And as everyone knows, and our school teams will tell you, with our current metal detectors, it is a pretty cumbersome process. I mean, it takes a lot of time, a lot of staff to man that. And so we're going to continue a random process this year with metal detecting. We're going to make the randomness more frequent. Last year I think we were getting to it about quarterly, but it's going to be more frequent because, again, random metal detecting is about deterring students from bringing anything to school that they should not have that would constitute a weapon. The other thing, we have purchased with state safety funds 8 of a new type of metal detector called Open Gate, and you can see behind us over there, and Jonathan can show you after. These are used in many districts, and they have a better rate of detecting metal, but also they're faster. And so that is something that we're really interested in. So honestly, we're going to pilot it. We're going to move them around to different schools throughout the year and pilot those detectors to see if it's a better option for our school district. So again, if you have questions about safety, we'll open that up to those in just a second. Something else that's new as we go into this school year is our cell phone policy update. And as you know, our Board of Education approved a cell phone policy at the end of the school year that we will be enacting as we step foot on campus on Monday. And so basically all cell phone and other digital devices, or not digital devices, but electronic devices that kids use to communicate, I guess we should say, they are all to be put away and turned off from the time school starts to the time the day ends, with the exception of high school, who can actually have them out during lunch. And so as you can see on some signs over there, you're going to see our signs throughout our district where it says no cell phone. We are going to be adhering to this policy. And so parents, a lot of information is going out to parents in a message tomorrow that's going to share all this. Open houses start tomorrow and messages will be given to parents there, because we are really going to need the help of our families and parents to actually enforce this policy. Again, elementary and middle school, there is no time in the day the phone should be visible. They should be in the book bag, turned off. For high schoolers, same thing with the exception of lunch. And at lunch, high schoolers can check in. The purpose of that, honestly, is many of our high schoolers have responsibilities and need to be in touch with folks. They've got that chance at lunchtime to be able to say, okay, mom, dad, whoever, I will pick up the sibling at this time. Like, there are other responsibilities for our high schoolers. We know this is going to be hard for some of our students who have been connected to their cell phones, but we know it's the right thing to do. Our decision to do this is really based on engagement and learning, and also on mental health. We've learned a lot about the impact of social media and the use of phones on mental health. So we're really excited about implementing this policy. Again, we know that there might be some challenges, because I've had my phone on me all summer. I'm looking at it every time there's a notification. We know that, but you're going to have to now change that course, because we're in school strictly to be engaged in learning. And so we're going to make, that is another area of a focus I'm not going to get into today, but is really making learning relevant and engaging for our students. They're not going to have time, nor are they going to want to look at their cell phone. Transportation. Last year at this time, I think I was communicating, we had about 80, if I remember, close to 80 driver vacancies. This year we're going into the school year with 60. That's an improvement, but 60 driver vacancies also means runs that are not, or buses that do not have a driver currently. Our transportation team has been working diligently all summer to clean up routes and to make our back to school with our transportation efficient, smooth, and safe. And so there will be some, just like last year, there will be some delays, but this week, all of our families that may have a delayed pickup or take home will be notified this week. Also, there is a new app, and we are excited about this app called Edgelog. There's information on that sign over there about this, but it was our pilot good? Did it work beautifully? It worked, thank goodness. So parents can actually monitor, they can see when the bus is coming, they can see where their kids are. Like, that's how this app is supposed to work. And so there's no need to stand outside and wait for 20 minutes. You'll know when the bus is coming, you'll be able to monitor it and track it. And so again, if you have questions about transportation, there are more details that the team can answer. And last but not least, we are ready for this early start. I know that people were wondering, oh my gosh, what are you going to do? But I think all of the communication that happened from the time we made this decision to now, we are ready. We've been tracking facility readiness. Our facilities are clean. We are dealing with a few HVAC issues. Some of them were kind of unexpected, but we're doing all that we can for Monday to have a great learning environment for our students. So those are some of the updates. We've got a lot more to tell, but we could go on for hours about all the things that we are focused on this school year. But I'm going to open up now if there are any questions. Yes, Lisa.
Lieutenant McManus, can you talk a little bit about the decision to go with two principals here? It's a unique approach, and I think if I'm thinking back to your press release announcing it, it was something along the lines of Parkland offered, there's some unique challenges or something here. So can you talk a little bit about why you decided to go that way?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think my quote was, with unique challenges, you need a unique solution and an innovative solution. And I think it's, Parkland, number one, is filled with the most incredible students. and the most committed staff. And they've had some things that have happened that have really created this narrative about the school that actually is really not true, but that has created challenges. And so it is a big job. You've got students that are in the IB program, you've got students that are not, creating one school environment, making sure that we are really tight on our safety and behavior and discipline, and really just honestly promoting academic excellence. I mean, in a perfect world with endless money, this would be a great model everywhere, because the job of a principal is incredible. I mean, it is the most complex and most time-consuming, challenging job. It really is. And so this model would be effective anywhere, but I think Parkland, we want Parkland to achieve the excellence we know it can achieve with the folks that are in that building, including our staff and students. So, and Jonathan, and if you have any questions for them about this I will tell you, I walked into their office today, and I didn't say offices, I said office. They're together in an office, and I'm like, this is what co-principalship is all about. They're together in the one office. But did you want to ask them, or do you want them? How's it going, guys? Does one of you want to?
It's going great.
Great.
Going great.
Anything you want to ask?
How are you all like
Come to the
dividing
mic.
responsibilities? Is it kind of co-responsibilities, or are there certain areas that you all are going to tackle?
Go ahead. So the model is shared responsibility, shared vision, but teamwork. We share everything. We don't split anything up. Any decisions that are made are coming from both of us, are being made by both of us. We need the approval of both people in order for it to move forward. Sharon,
That's right.
Okay.
Any other questions for them? Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
And thank you. They're excited about. How are you staffing wise? You're in a good place.
We're in a good place.
They're in a good place staff wise. I know Monday at our press conference we'll talk about our staffing, because we've got till Friday to get any other additional vacancies filled. But you guys have done incredible work this year hiring teachers and being staffed. So good job.
Actually, I do have a question.
Okay. It's okay.
If you guys could step back to the mic really quick. So I will admit, I'm a bit on the younger side. I only graduated from high school like a couple years ago.
Me too.
Sorry to make you feel. Hey. So I'm kind of curious. When I was in high school, my principal, he would walk around, talk with the students, mingle with them. Is it going to be like that, but twice? Especially if there's a problem, you guys can come together to solve the solution.
Yes. That's it. For us, it's about building relationships. We're steering a ship of about 2,000 people, include our students and our adults. So it takes two of us. We are very like-minded. We're very close friends and have been for years. So it takes two of us to build those relationships with lots of people. We need our kids to understand that they have two of us to rely on.
Is there also the benefit of being in multiple places at once, so to speak?
Yes. Yes. And being, honestly, it is being there for the students and being there for the teachers. We can cover more ground that way.
Can I follow up just real quick while they're up there? The superintendent talked a little bit about the narrative that came out of some of the incidents from last year. What are some of the ways that you all would like to try to change that narrative a little bit?
So I'm going to say, for me, it's not about changing the narrative. It's about reframing the picture everybody sees. I went to school here. I'm a 1990 grad of Parkland. I taught here. I helped start the IB program. The students in this building can lift the face of this world if the public will allow them to do that. So what we need from you guys is to understand that there are 2,000 people in this building, and if there's an incident with one student, that's one student out of 2,000. So we are looking to put plant the seeds in our students' ears that they are movers and shakers in our neighborhoods and communities. And we need every adult in this community, including the press, to help them understand that. Because whatever seeds that we plant, whatever seeds they see about themselves on the news is the ones that are going to grow in their heads.
I think you being here today is starting that process of changing that narrative.
Thank you. Yes, and I will tell you back to the principal. I am sure that when I was a principal, I said many times, I wish I could clone myself. So in this case, it's not an exact cloning, but I'm sure that, and I would like to thank the board, and I know Richard Watts also joined us this morning. Our board said yes to something different, and there was a cost associated with it, but they have so much belief in what can happen at Parkland, and they knew that we needed an innovative leadership solution. And so the board was like 100% behind this. That's why we're here today, because of their saying, yep, we're going to do that. We want something innovative for Parkland.
Has this been used in other, like, how rare is this in maybe across maybe
Yeah.
other educational?
You know what? If you Google co-principalships, you're going to find scenarios out there, because I did, and I found very many different. I don't think it's that common, but there are some scenarios across the country. I don't think there are many in North Carolina, but there are some, and there are some across the country. But again, it's not common. I don't think. Again, I don't think that, you know, when you get your allotments for building leaders, the state's not saying you're going to get 2 for principal. So districts have to be creative about how they would fund that type of approach, and what are they going to not do to be able to do that. So I think that's why it's probably not more common. But honestly, the other thing is, not 2 people, like, these 2 are pretty incredible. Like, the way they work together. I mean, I always talk about it as a marriage. You know, they argue less than my marriage, I will say that. I mean, they are this incredible marriage but I said that they work so well together. That is not always common, where 2 people, because there's always one that wants to be like, oh, well, I'm in charge. Like, some people can't manage that. They want to be in charge, but in this case, it's shared leadership, and that is not always easy for everyone. So,
Just to be sure, this is like a first-time thing ever for Winston-Salem.
yes, I think so. I don't know of any other time. Yes.
So I guess obviously moving forward at the end of the school year, provided this all goes well, maybe there's a conversation about introducing this in other schools as well?
You know what? And what I will say too is, it is not, to me, although the principalship is complex in every school, you have different layers of complexity and of need. And so I would never say I think this model would be a district-wide model, because you have different needs in different schools. It could be, again, in a school that has some needs at the moment, but this one's going to be our model for a few years, as we get Parkland really just excelling at the highest levels, and we'll focus in on this one and see how it goes.
Moving back to more overall, you did mention some HVAC issues. Elaborate on that if you can. Are these things that you hope that right now they're HVAC issues, but by Monday they'll be fixed, or just
You wanna address?
very minor things?
Yep, and I'm going to bring up Lauren Richards for this one.
Good morning. So back in May, we did a comfort campaign throughout our schools to try to capture things that were taking place at the end of the year. That was ahead of our testing schedule to be able to make sure that the classrooms were comfortable for teachers and for our students during that time. That really allowed us to get ahead of some of the things that we typically get at the back to school time. So I am happy to report that the incidences are down, but we are getting parts now, which is great. We had some supply issues in the last couple of years, but the team is really tackling those, communicating with the schools. We're making shifts in areas that we need to. But right now there's only about 2 or 3 major ones, and we do plan on those being ready to go Monday.
So it will be, and if anything, maybe like a one repair guy walking around after school one day and it's fixed type of deal?
Yep, this is a round the clock kind of time of year, and so we're in buildings on the weekends, we're in buildings on the evening. We're monitoring our control systems remotely to kind of look at the different spaces and make adjustments, and so we will be on it for the next 4 to 5 days, hard.
And then things happen. Everyone knows that. First 2-3 weeks of school, how prepared is your team for something unexpected that may arise HVAC-wise? We're hoping that doesn't happen, but it's just in case.
So luckily we do have some emergency procedures that we can follow if something comes up, that we can make a purchase quickly. We do have portable units that we can move into spaces, and so I will say every situation is different and unique, but the team is they're excited to tackle those things. They are on it. Communication is key, and being able to make shifts in real time.
Actually, can I tack on a question with that as well? How important is flexibility in those sort of situations?
I think in education, flexibility is pretty much everything. Yeah, I mean, every morning when you wake up, I don't think we quite know what we're always going to be tackling. And so flexibility from the staff standpoint in the schools to be able to think differently in the space that they're working with students, and then flexibility on technician side to flex schedules and flex hours to be able to work around the time that teachers are in those classrooms, to be able to make sure that everybody is able to kind of move around and adjust as they need to. So flexibility is key.
Question actually for the principals about the cell phone policy, if you
Oh,
wouldn't mind.
okay.
Since you're going to be in the schools. I would imagine for students, this is going to be a really hard, let's just say, habit addiction to break. Tell me that these first couple days, what you're going to tell the teachers, what you want the students to know, and also probably their parents, that, you know, we don't want to see the phones, when I think we all know that they
Well,
get on 'em.
I'll say what the board has implemented is nothing new to us. It's what schools should have been doing all along, and what teachers have been implementing in their classroom. So it's nothing new. I think it's just us sharing and resharing what was already expected of them in the first place.
I can tell you the first couple of days, we had our student ambassadors in yesterday to make videos about the things that we want to see from their colleagues. And so we're building the lessons in our first 3 days around the things that we want to see of them. And one of the big things is cell phones. We know that this is not going to be fixed
Overnight.
Monday. We know that we're still going to be working through this. We're going to have to unplant those seeds, as I said before. And this is a process just like everything else working with a student, with a young person. We have to give them grace. We have to be stern. We have to be all things to them so that they are able to relearn their habits and understand why we're doing this, and not just that this is a punitive measure.
And I imagine for the elementary and middle school kids, really letting those parents know, because I've seen just anecdotally parents saying, my kids are going to have their phone, like kind of a little bit of.
Do you want to talk?
Well,
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Hi.
It looked like you wanted to talk.
Well, and the reason why is because the board's intention in passing the policy, to Mr. Johnson's point, was to reiterate the expectation across the district. So largely, we haven't really seen cell phones become as huge of an issue as they have been in high school, as, you know, in middle school and in elementary, although they're prevalent, but the issue is just, it's not the same. The usage isn't the same. I think that our focus was really making sure that there was uniformity across the board in terms of what we expect, and then equipping the superintendent with the ability to be able to set and establish those expectations across the board regarding how we're using the cell phones, but also balancing this with the notion of that technology is going to continue to be a part of our lives. And so what we don't want to do is put ourselves in a position where we're not equipping the new generations on how to use technology appropriately. It's about addressing the inappropriate use of the technology, and to understand that there's a time and a place for everything.
Absolutely.
It's already been established that there might be some pushback from parents. How are you guys prepared to tackle that, or interact with them
Yeah.
at that point?
So I think we need to bring parents along as our partners in this. I mean, we cannot enforce this without them. I will say that we did take this to our parent advisory committee, which is about 60 parents that meet 6 times a year, and this was one of the topics. They were completely on board with cell phones being put away and off in the classroom. Where they were not on board is their students not having them with them, because after school, many of our students are in arts and athletics and things like that. Parents, now because of the connection to your kids and the connectivity to your kids, a lot of parents want to know at the end of the day, okay, are you safe? Did you get to your, all of that. And so I can't fault parents for that. I mean, as a parent myself and now a grandparent, I can see why you would want to make sure your kids are safe. But once they're at school, in the school building, we know where our students are. We know where our kids are. If there were ever an emergency, our parents would have immediate communication. If there were ever an emergency, we would allow students at that time to do something with their phone. Like, that's part of the training. So at the end of the day, in school, we need to allow our kids to be engaged in learning, engaged with their friends, engaged in all the great things that school has to offer, but yet knowing that before they walk in the door and once they walk out the door, if they need to get on the phone to connect with their parent, they can. And I think that was the feedback we got from parents. It was not that we no, I want my child to have their phone out all day. No, we have not heard that from parents. Yes.
I would kind of like to know more about the new transportation app and how it works and how it's different.
Perfect.
From Here Comes
I'm going to
the
bring Tisha up because we did pilot this at what school?
Smith Farms.
Smith Farm. We piloted the app. So, Tisha?
So the Edulog Bus Portal is replacing what we previously had, which was Here Comes the Bus. The new Edulog Bus Portal transmits information every 3 seconds rather than every 10 seconds, so it's more on the spot. The system that we had prior had a lot of server issues. There were a lot of errors. There were a lot of downtime with the app. The new app has promised us that it's much better. It's much more equipped to handle the volume that we have within the district.
But it works roughly the same? Like you're just able to track?
We're able to communicate more with the app, and we're able to communicate more individually with parents through push notifications through the app to give them more information on what is happening with that individual bus. And we didn't have that technology before.
And so you piloted it, and now you're going to tell parents, like, download this app? And
We've been advertising it for months, and we encourage, there's a sign over there with a QR code. It's very simple to download. If you go on the Winston-Salem-Forsyth County Transportation webpage, there's a step-by-step, and we have it both in English and in Spanish.
So just to be sure, it's an encouragement, not a requirement.
It's definitely encouraged. Definitely encouraged. Highly, highly encouraged.
You piloted it, and obviously you, meaning FCS,
Correct.
liked what you saw. Did the parents that you piloted with, did they give you that positive feedback that you wanted to see?
They
as well?
have. They have.
And then, I guess, any, I don't want to say worries, but you're scaling it up to a larger network instead of just one school. I imagine the transportation department is prepared for any snafus that may occur due to the scaling up.
We are. We have daily meetings with Edgelog, who is the main provider through Edgelog and Samsara, our partnerships. We have daily meetings with them, and we will continue to do that. They are available to us. We have cell phones for 24-hour access to the people that we need to have access with.
you mentioned 60 vacancies, but there's probably a lot of people in the process of getting hired. I don't know if you could break that.
I can. So where we're at, and as of right when I walked out of the office, which was about 35 minutes ago, we were at 55 vacancies. So 55 open buses. We're supposed to have 299 buses on the road, so we still have a shortage. So we are asking for that grace. The hiring process for a bus driver is very time consuming. It takes anywhere between 60 and 90 days by the time they go through all the medical, all the background check, and all the trainings through the DMV. So it is a process. We have been actively hiring, actively recruiting. Our HR team is absolutely phenomenal. We've created a hiring team within the transportation department, so it's no longer on one or two people. We have drivers that are coming in to interview drivers to get their feedback and get how they feel that this person's going to do going through the process, and that's been extraordinary, and I think that's made a big change with the process.
And if anyone is seeing this press conference now or sees a clip from it later and they think, maybe I could be a bus driver, even though school starts in 5 days, you would still encourage them to apply?
Absolutely, and I actually have flyers to hand out to all of you with a QR code that we are hiring drivers and mechanics. If you want to advertise that, that would be terrific. You can flash that up on the TV and the news. I will advertise left and right for drivers and for mechanics. We do have a mechanic shortage also, and we need the mechanics to keep the buses in line to keep them on the road.
The metal detector, is that you?
It's all of us, but Jonathan can talk about it.
So she mentioned random, popping up at schools. The biggest question I have is this a case of no matter what, it'll be there one day, gone the next, or if certain trends or patterns are noticed, will you maybe be like, all right, we're going to keep the metal detectors here for like 2 or 3 days before we move them around?
Yeah, so I mean, our traditional metal detectors that we used last year will be used randomly, but we always reserve the right if there's a threat or if there is a rumor, if there's something that we need to deal with, that we can do it daily. We also do it for athletic events because we don't know those folks that are coming on our campus. I will say when we pilot the open gate systems and they move around, and they will be daily for the amount of time that they are on that campus. Now we want to move them around to different places because Parkland High School is very much different than West Forsyth, and West Forsyth is very much different than Reagan High School. So we want to see how it works in different environments, how it works in large schools versus small schools, and really just make sure the product works the way we hope it does before we invest and purchase more.
The logistics of moving everything around, I imagine, has been accounted for. You're prepared for that for athletic events for different schools. Your team is
So we
able.
yes, sir. So we have enough of the traditional metal detectors at every middle and high school now, so we don't have to move those around. And besides moving them from door to door or from hallway to hallway, we don't even have to move them from the school to the stadiums. The stadiums have enough standalone units for that. The open gate systems are very easy to transport. They don't weigh very much, and so we can pick those up and carry them. We do not foresee using those outside this school year because there's some other things that we need before we use them outside, but yes, we are prepared to move those devices as needed.
So you only have one of those things right now, right?
Now we have 8 of the open gate systems. So the open gate system requires the 2 poles, and so we have 2 complete systems. We have 8 complete systems, yes, sir.
So I think I may have missed this earlier, so I apologize. This question What makes this open gate system different than the things you already have?
So the traditional metal detector that you see here further back near the flagpole is it does what it says it does. It detects metal, but it's going to detect everything. So it requires us to hand a student to hand us their bag. Our staff searches through the bag to make sure there's nothing in the bag that they shouldn't have. They pass through the metal detector, it does not go off, and then they retrieve their bag and go to class. So you see how that is very cumbersome, and it takes a lot of folks to do that in a school as large as Parkland High School. The open gate systems are more free flowing, so they're not going to alert. So we will set those at a certain level. So it's going to detect a concentration of metal. So a weapon would have much more concentration of metal than a Stanley Cup, for instance, because a Stanley Cup's hollow. And so we should be able to see a student that would walk through with their bag on their back, assuming they don't have a Chromebook or a computer in it. They should be able to walk through that machine without it setting off. Now, every computer, because of the spine of the computer and the concentration of metal, has to be passed around. But I can pass that all day long and do it much faster. So we should be able to get students in 3-4 times as fast as we could with those other ones.
And of course, I'm assuming you'll have a couple staff members on standby nearby, just watching, making sure everything's going.
So no matter which one we use, we have to have staff. Those open gates will require much less staff. So if the machine goes off, that student will be pulled aside. Hey, do you have anything in your pocket? Empty that out, pass it back through. If it's clear, they move on to class.
So this might be a question for you or Dr. McManus, but things go well with open gate, bigger investment into these sort of systems?
So we would, again, the reason we were able to do this was due to a state safety grant. There would have to be some type of grant. I mean, it's not, and our board would have to say, this is something we would want to put in a budget. So again, those types of decisions are made at the budget cycle time. It's something that our law enforcement partners are very supportive of. So they're out there trying to figure out, is there any kind of other funding that can be used? Like right now, we could not do that because it wasn't budgeted for this school year. So again, it has to be a conversation with our Board of Education. And that has to happen at the budget time. It could even be a future request, but there are many needs, as we know. We just the sunsetting of ESSER, we've had to make some key decisions around funding, and so again, this will give us a year to really analyze these systems and figure out, are there other grants out there. We're hoping maybe the state provides some other grants for safety, because Jonathan and his team have done the most incredible job of using those grants and of bond dollars for cameras. I mean, we have up-to-date technology in so many ways. This would be kind of icing on the cake. So again, it's not just a, yep, we're going to do that kind of decision just because we don't have those funds to do that right now. And it is a board decision to approve that.
Moving for you, Superintendent McManus. First day of school, plenty of people, parents and whatnot, have to deal with bus rides, but there's also car riders,
Yes.
drop-offs. Every school obviously has their own setup for car riders, but just anything you would say to parents that are either nervous or apprehensive about, dropping their kids off and what that's going to look like?
Yes, thank you for asking that question. So traffic is going to be much heavier on Monday than it was today, or that it was all summer. And so we are going to ask everyone, please be patient. The first day of school, when you have new kindergartners showing up and you've got kids that have not been dropped off at school before, you have automatic delays. Parents saying goodbye to their children, all of that caused delays. And as schools, get the process down, it takes all week to really get that process flowing faster. So what I would ask parents is, please be patient, give yourself time. Both at drop-off and pickup. Give yourself time. Please do not think you're going to roll in there and be ready to go. It's going to take time. The roads are going to be full of traffic. Please, 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 to our entire community, watch out for our students at bus stops. Watch out for our buses. When they're slowing down, slow down. When the stop arm comes up, please do not come alongside of them. We have to be safe for our children. We want everyone showing up on the first day safely. So patience through the first week. It's not even the first day, it's a week. It's going to take time to get back in the routine. But we are committed to making it as smooth as possible. And we're ready. I will say we're ready for our students to return.
And will Winston-Salem Police, Forsyth County Sheriff, they'll be helping with traffic issues around schools, and I don't know if you can answer that part, they'll be keeping an eye out for anyone that decides to ignore a school bus stop.
They are on alert. They are always on alert with us as incredible partners they are. But we also have, we use folks within the building for also traffic control. It's a kind of a stipend assigned position. So we've got folks that will be out there. But again, they are not law enforcement. They're people with a vest on. So please watch them. Pay attention to what they say. We have no time on Monday for anger. So if you're going to be late for work, have someone else bring your child or come earlier. But no, we know that our community, we've done this so many times. It's going to be a great opening.
From Ola News, Northern Media, Ms.
Hi. Yes.
Lydia, how are you preparing for support and provide mental health care for not just for our kids but for teachers?
Yep. We've got a lot in place around mental health supports. And honestly, more information will be coming out as we go. I know I didn't address that yet today, but the cell phone policy really is about mental health. It's about helping our kids put that away. I loved Lisa, you gave me the theme song for that, Hard Habit to Break. Y'all remember that song? I think that's the theme song for this year's cell phone policy. But what I will say is that we have things in place. We've got our social emotional learning curriculum that is so important starting on day one, that is designed really to allow students a time to speak to each other, to discuss issues. We are doing a lot around relationship building and creating positive and strong school cultures, going over expectations at the beginning of the year. Everything we're doing and all the summer training we've had is about all of our students being future ready. Part of being future ready is about feeling like you are in a safe and caring environment. Our tagline for that is all students seen, value, and heard. That's what our code of conduct and character and support is all about. And so with staff as well, we have several grants we're working on with other outside entities around mental health and supports for staff. We've got our HR team has resources to support that. We've got our student services team that is all in and providing support. We have a lot of things happening around mental health, and so we'll continue to be communicating those as the year starts. Is that it? Thank you, everyone. We appreciate your time. Thank you.